Hey everyone, the purpose of this video is to review all of our inequalities that we've been working on so far. So that includes basic one-step inequalities with interval notation, multi-step inequalities, writing the inequality from a graph, compound inequalities, and also absolute value inequalities. Okay, so a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. I will do the odds, and then your homework is to do the evens. So let's take a look at what the schedule is, so we're all on the same page. So last time we finished the 6-4 notes on absolute value inequalities, and we had time to start a worksheet that went with it. That worksheet was due today. We won't be grading it today, but you can find the key in the subfolder in Schoology. We also have been focusing this week on Alex because the end of the quarter is on the 17th, and that day your 10 topics are due, and you also have to get to 20% if you want to get all the points for your Alex check-in. Get as close as you can. Okay, so today we're going to watch this video, do the odds, and then the sub is going to pause the video when I ask, and during that time you guys will work on the evens right next to the problems. So I'll be doing the left column and you guys will be doing the right column. Also today, since this video will not take the whole time, we're going to just take a practice Schoology. You can call it a quiz, but it's not a quiz. It's just a practice assignment, similar to the one that you did before, but this one is about compound and absolute value, and it's going to go in as a classwork grade. So however you perform on that will go in the grade book, but it's not a quiz, so it is not worth as much. The password to that will be Hawks123, and then any remaining time you have during the class, you should be, for one, on your best behavior, but also be working on Alex topics, as we talked about. Okay, the homework for today is, again, to finish the evens on this sheet that we're going through right now. Next time, we're going to talk about any review questions you guys might have, either from this or from any of the worksheets, and then we'll take a quiz on paper, which is very similar to this review, just with like fewer questions, probably like 12 questions. And when you are all finished with that quiz, you'll work on missing assignments in Alex, and I'll be here on that day. I'm just not here today, obviously. So let's take a look here. I want to do the odd ones with you. So it says solve each inequality and graph its solution, write an interval notation, remember when dividing or multiplying by a negative, flip the sign. Great. All right, well, I'm doing none of that here. I'm just going to add 3 to both sides, putting me at 9. Okay, I'm going to fill that in. Okay, because remember, the solid dot uses these signs and these brackets. Open uses these signs and parentheses. Also, I'm going to point this way because it says v is greater than or equal to 9, meaning that I need to go bigger than that, bigger than 9. Also, you can use the trick that this sign is the same look, has the same look as the arrow. For this one here, I'll copy down the problem. Even though there's a negative, we're not actually dividing by a negative, so no need to switch the sign here. And I did this on my calculator earlier and got negative 27, which is here. And that's going to point this way, since we're less than negative 27. All right. Let's copy this real quick. I think my interval notation went away because I erased something earlier. So it should say interval notation here, like right here. For this problem, we would do bracket 9 to infinity. Okay. And then for this problem, we would do negative infinity all the way up until negative 27 with the parentheses. Okay. Because this, on this first page, every interval will have infinity in it. Some of them will have negative if it points to the left, and some of them will have positive if it points to the right. Okay. This is a problem where we are going to go ahead and flip the sign because we're dividing by that negative. Okay. So we're going to flip this, and this would be 28 with the negative. All right. So that's going to be an open circle here. And we're going to point this way, since we're greater than. Okay. Meaning that interval notation will be parentheses, negative 28 to infinity. Okay. We're going to distribute in these 6. Okay, I want to get p alone, so we're adding 30 to the term that has p in it, so it makes sense to subtract 30. So we got 180. Okay, and if we divide both sides by 36, we get p is greater than or equal to 5. So we see a solid dot. Draw our line this way, and we have 5, and then infinity. Okay. All right. Yes. So our sub will go ahead and pause the video now, and you guys can work on probably for about 5 minutes or so. Spend some time and work on 2, 4, 6, and 8. Okay, now we're going to move on to, and we'll go over the answers to those the next time I see you. So just try your best on those evens. Now let's take a look at these. If you're given the graph, you can write the inequality. So we're going to take this arrow and include that. Now it's filled in. Okay, so we're going to write x and then the number we're at. And that's all you have to do for inequality, because x, after all, is less than or equal to 3. And then we would use negative infinity up to 3. Okay, remembering we always use parentheses with the infinity next to that. Okay. The arrowhead over here goes like that. So we're going to do this. We have an open circle, so I'm not going to change anything. So x is larger than negative 6. So we go to negative 6 and include everything bigger than that. Okay. So now this sub was going to pause the video for you just for about 2 minutes so you can work on these 2 problems and also finish any that you haven't done already. Okay. All right, compounded inequalities. So I'll go ahead and just copy down and talk about what we have here. So it says or. So I know I'm solving 2 separate inequalities and graphing separately. Okay. So we're going to add 9 and add 10. Okay, so that is my answer. There's really nothing more you can do. So let's graph it. So open circle at negative 5. Open circle at 10. Now, n is bigger than 10, or n is less than -5. So anytime you have or, the interval notation is pretty lengthy because it's got two arrowheads, so it's going to include both infinities. So negative infinity up until that -5, parentheses, and then we use that symbol with the U, meaning union. It just means or, but it's the symbol we use for sets. So U, and then we just include from 10 to infinity as well. It's just saying that, hey, both of these intervals are included in our answer. Okay, I'll do the first step as I transfer this. So I want to subtract 2. And then I'm going to add 3. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to definitely divide for both. So divide by 10 here, divide by 6 here. So we get this. So I'm going to put a solid dot at 4, open dot at 5. M is bigger than 5, so I'm going to shade this way. Or we also have solutions when m is less than or equal to 4. Okay, so as an interval, it's going to look very, very similar to the last one if I scroll up. Negative infinity to 4, and then it's solid dot, union, 5 to infinity. And it has a parenthesis. So take a moment to look at how these are similar and different. They're similar because they're both or. They have the same look. They have two arrows pointing away. They're different because one of them has a solid dot. And that changes the interval notation a little bit, but all in all, a very, very similar problem. Okay. Let's take a look at an and. So ands come in two different forms. It can either just say and, or it can be a combined double inequality like this one. And we like the double inequality a lot. So we're going to try and shoot for that while we're solving this problem. So I want to go ahead and divide by -10 and add 7. And I think that will solve for p. So I got to flip my sign. 50 divided by -10. Okay. And then I'm going to just add 7 to -3. Okay. So here's where it gets a little bit interesting. It says p is bigger than -5 and p is less than or equal to 4. So you are allowed to put the smallest number here by flipping that inequality, because it's still opening, like right here, it's still opening up to p. P is the bigger thing in both of these, here and here. And then what you can do is, I'll duplicate this, and you can just do this, which is pretty cool. With the technology, we can watch it merge together, and that's what we call a double inequality. And that's super easy to graph because it's very straightforward. You know, it just says -5 with the open, and then 4 with the closed. And our answer for and is always that segment right in the middle. It's like a sandwich, okay? And your bread is either going to be an open dot or a closed dot, okay? So interval notation here is much easier for and because it won't ever involve infinity. Let's try it where you start with a double inequality here. and this is similar to your homework. I want to subtract 4 from everything before I start. Okay. And then we have to divide by a negative, don't we? So the same rule applies. We're still going to flip our signs. But just be very careful when you divide that you keep your sign correct for the numbers. Okay. Now, we don't normally write the double inequalities with greater thans, so I'm going to go ahead and just flip this around completely. This is optional, but this is read left to right, includes the smallest thing on the left and then up to the biggest thing, kind of like a min and then a max, and we kind of prefer that. So I'm just filling in the graph and then the interval notation. Okay. Let's do one more. So I'm going to add 4 to everyone. And this looks like a very similar problem. So we're going to divide by -10, which is going to flip all the signs. But you can see it's kind of backwards again, so I'm just going to take it and reflect it. Almost like if there was a mirror right here, kind of reflect it. So the signs all flip and then the numbers flip as well. Okay, and then I would just go -7, 3. We have open circles because we have less than signs. And then that would be my connection. And then we use parentheses. Okay, so I will have the sub pause the video again. It looks like you have about 5 questions to work on. You might not finish all of them right now, but I'm going to give you guys about 4 or 5 minutes. Make sure you try, at least one, and at least one and. All right, so the last part of the video is on absolute value inequalities, which is the most recent thing that we learned a lot about last class. But let me give you the lowdown on how you would do these. So if you have a less than sign, you use the little phrase less than when you split, okay? So we get this and flip the sign, flip the sign. So we use the saying kiss, keep it, switch, switch. It's an okay thing to remember. Basically saying, hey, do a copy and paste here on the left, and then on the right, make sure you flip this sign and flip this sign. Now, it is telling us that n is bigger than or equal to -2, but less than or equal to 2. So because it's and, we are allowed to write that as a double inequality like this. Kind of for the same reasons I showed you earlier in the video when you have and. Okay. So it looks like this will be our answer, which is just including the numbers between -2 and 2. If you don't like going from here to here, I would advise you to take this and flip it around so it looks like this, and then do my little approach that I told you with the technology. Whoops, I think I took something I didn't want to take. Got some white. This is gonna be a little harder than I thought. Take this and like overlap it, you see, so if you flip one of them, flip the one with a negative and then overlap it, you do get that double inequality that way as well. We'll see more of that probably here with this next problem. Okay? So the first step on these two is the same as what it was for equations. You need to isolate the absolute value piece. And this is already done for us here. So I'm going to split into m minus 1 less than 3. And then we have a less than sign. Less than. And then we'll do a keep and then a change the sign and change the sign. Okay, and we'll solve these individually. So m is less than 4, or m is bigger than negative 2. And that is a totally okay way to write it. But most of you probably will prefer to have it written as a double inequality. So if you flip that one and move it, so if I duplicate and put one here, duplicate this, put it here, that's your double inequality. So you're just mashing them together. Open circle, connection, and then negative 2, 4. So you really see that this is truly an and. Look at the graph. I mean, it's and. Okay. So that less than symbol, that's what we noticed during the notes. That's what that does. Okay. Here we have this one. I think we just have 2 more left. This one looks a little weird with that fraction, but it shouldn't be a problem. So my absolute value piece is not alone. There's that minus 6. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to both sides. So adding 6 to both sides gives us this. And then we're ready to split. So this is a greater than sign, or equal to. So we do greater. Copy and paste. Or, and then we do that keep, change the sign, change the sign. So KISS, keep it, and then switch. And to get V alone, we should come in now and multiply by 5. And I think both of them could benefit from that. So we get V, and then V, with the or, because these cancel. Okay, so we're either greater than 5 or equal to, or we are over here at negative 5 going this way. So the interval, negative infinity up until negative 5, bracket, union, bracket, 5 to infinity. Okay, it's not really that much different than the ones you've already done. You're just mashing 2 separate intervals together for or. Okay. So finally we have this one. Which is kind of like a challenge question, I would say. It's got a lot going on. First, you have to isolate the absolute value part. So right now it's being multiplied by 6 and 1 is being added to it. So maybe we should subtract the 1. and divide by 6. And that'll do it. Okay. So this is another great OR. So we'll put OR, split, copy it exactly how it is, but no more absolute value. Keep it, change, or swap. All right, and then we have, and the reason why this one's a little tough is that you still have more work. So you still have to add 3 or add 2 to each side. And then divide by -1, which will flip the sign. So let me show my work a little bit better. On that step, we divided by -1, which triggers another flip. But we still get a nice pretty answer. So we're gonna do open circles, and this is OR. So it should go out like this. Now there are OR problems that don't look like this, but that's not gonna be something you have to worry about. We're gonna work on ones that always go out. And with absolute value, they always do. But with compound, I could get creative and give you one that's different. But I won't. I'm gonna keep it so it's predictable for you and not too hard. So the interval notation for this one would look something like this. Because again, imagine it like your let's see if I can get my tool. Yeah. So you're over here, right? You have to scan it like this. Scan it from left to right. Okay, so as we're scanning, we get up to -3. Okay, that's where we stop. We do a little jump. We pick it back up at -1 and go off to infinity. So that's the interval notation for you. All right. So you'll use the rest of time to work on the evens. Okay. Now you can work on any problem you want. Okay. Circle the ones that you're struggling with. And that'll be your homework. Okay. So to finish those evens for me. All right. So the sub's going to give you about 5 or 10 more minutes, depending on where you're at, to work on this. And then hopefully with about 20 or 25 minutes left, they will ask you to open up Schoology, go to the subfolder, which is, in your Unit 1 folder, and just take the practice Schoology assignment. It will be open. You could actually take it and finish it up, at home if you need to. If you need more time, again, it's just practice. I wanted to give you a little bit more hands-on stuff for today. So you'll work on that for the rest of the time. I'd like you to finish that up too, if you don't. And then if you have any remaining time, the Alex topics have been there and have been waiting for you to finish those up. All right, thank you all.